This is English shorthand dictation number 48 and the dictation speed is 160 words per minute. Ready? Start. At the outset, I would like to thank the Honorable Chairperson for giving me an opportunity to speak on the subject 10th Schedule of Constitution and role of Speaker. I deem it a great honor and privilege for sharing my ideas and thoughts before this distinguished gathering. I come from Arunachal Pradesh, which became a full-fledged state in 1987. We have a unicameral legislature consisting of 60 members. The Honorable Speaker of Legislative Assembly of Arunachal Pradesh has not been able to join us because of some prior engagements. Sir, 10th Schedule of Constitution and role of Speaker has been the subject matter of great debate and discussion for a long time in various fora, including in Presiding Officers Conference. The system of parliamentary democracy, the multi-party system and the coalition governments have contributed to the emergence of circumstances that made it possible for members of legislatures to shift political loyalty. Such a situation challenges the foundation and trust on which our political system rests. Defection as an expression of dissent on ideologies and of value-based political behavior had given place to unprincipled exit of members from political parties and floor crossing on consideration of political gains, lure of office and allegations of bribery, corruption, etc. The rise of such undesirable phenomenon in our political landscape necessitated the enactment of anti-defection law in 1985. It has been observed that while the rate of defections has come down since the enactment of the law, defection as an evil has not been outlawed as envisaged by the law. Due to the existence of ambiguities and lacunae in the law, at times different presiding officers have interpreted it differently. There have been further judicial reviews of decisions of the presiding officers, sometimes reflecting on the dignity of the offices they hold. Honorable Chairman, Sir, as you are aware, it was as early as in 1967 that the Conference of Presiding Officers helped evolve a national consensus by expressing its great concern and unequivocally denouncing the tendency of floor crossing for purely selfish reasons. Since then, the conference has been in favor of evolving effective provisions to check the menace of political opportunism. These efforts fructified in 1985 when the 52nd Constitution Amendment Act, commonly known as the anti-defection law, was enacted in order to deal with the problem. As the presiding officers of some of the state legislatures continued to face difficulties in implementing the anti-defection law, an emergent conference of the presiding officers of legislative bodies in India was convened on 11 February 1992 in New Delhi under the chairmanship of Speaker of Lok Sabha to take stock of the situation following the Supreme Court's decision that the judiciary could review decisions given by the presiding officers under the 10th Schedule of the Constitution. Reservations were expressed at the conference that the issue had assumed the nature of some part of a confrontation between the legislature and the judiciary. A committee of presiding officers on measures to promote harmonious relations between the legislature and the judiciary was constituted in 1993. The committee examined parliamentary privileges as well as the anti-defection law vis-a-vis the judiciary and submitted the report in 1994 to the conference held in Bhubaneswar. In the view of the committee, the operation of the anti-defection law has revealed several lacunae and deficiencies. The 62nd Conference of Presiding Officers in 1998 pointed out some of the main problems experienced in the implementation of the anti-defection law. In more than 30 years of its existence, the anti-defection law continued to come up for judicial scrutiny. Petitions have been filed in various courts against the decision taken by the presiding officers. The anti-defection law, since its enactment, has made the role of the Speaker very crucial, as he has to act as a quasi-judicial authority and his judgment has a great bearing on the whole process. The Speaker is the sole authority who determines the disqualification under this law and exercises his power and functions as a tribunal adjudicating the rights and obligations under the 10th Schedule. Since the enactment of the anti-defection law, the powers of the Speaker have been greatly enhanced, but it also places a heavy responsibility on the Speaker. The whole political system looks up to the Speaker to follow the high traditions of objectivity, impartiality and fairness and high traditions of this great office. Even if the Speaker has reached his judgment in an impartial manner and as per the rules and norms laid down, it still leaves one party or the other feeling dissatisfied. I would therefore urge that we frame our rules and develop such norms and conventions that can keep the office of the Speaker above any criticism or suspicion. The Speaker or the presiding officer occupies a very exalted position in the parliamentary democracy. There have been many occasions when the rulings or decisions given by the Speaker have been challenged in the courts and at times reversed by the courts. Surely this is not a very happy situation for our democracy and also for the office of the Speaker. We as legislators should deliberate as to how to ensure that such situations do not arise. Friends, I am sure we all agree that the unique institution of Speaker that has developed in the parliamentary system of governance needs to be nurtured, preserved and protected at all costs for the future health and well-being of our political system. The office of the Speaker is the soul of Parliament and it is our duty to respect its authority, prestige and dignity. Distinguished delegates will agree with me that our Constitution has stood the test of time and all organs of the state have functioned well to fulfill their objectives despite the complex challenges they have faced. Needless to say, the legislature, the executive and the judiciary will have to continue functioning within the constitutional framework to supplement and complement each other and carry the country on the path of all-round progress and development. Before I conclude, I would like to thank the Honorable Speaker of my Assembly for deputing me to represent Arunachal Pradesh Legislative Assembly in this conference. I would like to thank the Honorable Speaker of Lok Sabha and Chairperson of the conference, Shri Om Birla, for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on the subject. I am very hopeful that the deliberations in the conference will be able to throw more light and show the path ahead to achieve our objective. I would also like to thank the Honorable Speaker of the Uttarakhand Legislative Assembly for the warm hospitality and courtesies extended to us. The office of the Speaker occupies a pivotal position in our parliamentary democracy. It has been said of the office of the Speaker that while the members of Parliament represent the individual constituencies, the Speaker represents the full authority of the House itself. He symbolizes the dignity and power of the House over which he is presiding. Therefore, it is expected that the holder of this office of high dignity has to be one who can represent the House in all its manifestations. The responsibility entrusted to the Speaker is so onerous that he cannot afford to overlook any aspect of parliamentary life. His actions come under close scrutiny in the House and are also widely reported in the mass media. With the televising of proceedings of Parliament, the small screen brings to millions of households in the country the day-to-day developments in the House, making the Speaker's task all the more important. Even though the Speaker speaks rarely in the House, when he does, he speaks for the House as a whole. The Speaker is looked upon as a true guardian of the traditions of parliamentary democracy. His unique position is illustrated by the fact that he is placed very high in the warrant of precedence in our country, standing next only to the President, the Vice President and the Prime Minister. In India, through the Constitution of the land, through the rules of procedure and conduct of business, in Lok Sabha and through the practices and conventions, adequate powers are vested in the office of the Speaker to help him in the smooth conduct of the parliamentary proceedings and for protecting the independence and impartiality of the office. The Constitution of India provides that the Speaker's salary and allowances are not to be voted by Parliament and are to be charged on the Consolidated Fund of India. Speaker holds office from the date of his election till immediately before the first meeting of the Lok Sabha after the dissolution of the one to which he was elected. He is eligible for re-election. On the dissolution of the Lok Sabha, although the Speaker ceases to be a member of the House, he does not vacate his office. The Speaker may at any time resign from office by writing under his hand to the Deputy Speaker. The Speaker can be removed from office only on a resolution of the House passed by a majority of all the then members of the House. Such a resolution has to satisfy some conditions. should be specific with respect to the charges, and it should not contain arguments, inferences, ironical expressions, imputations, or defamatory statements, etc. Not only these, discussions should be confined to charges referred to in the resolution. It is also mandatory to give a minimum of 14 days notice of the intention to move the resolution.